What's up, you guys? Alright, so I had a few technical issues and I tried to record this a few times and then I got interrupted. So you know what? Let's trust the process. I'm gonna give this one more shot. Alright, I'm going to do today a love reading specifically, and I'm gonna start with the Rider-Waite, and I have this oracle deck to clarify a new one that I got, this Threads of Fate. So let us see what comes through for love, specifically strength. I'm gonna take it because I feel like when the cards fly onto the floor, there's a reason. So we're getting strength. Okay. What else? And I also made a coffee because I was like, maybe I'm having trouble because I'm not caffeinated. That always helps. All right. Moving right along. Well, Seven of Swords. Okay, we'll clarify. And the Six of Wands. Now, why? I'm going to pull one on all these. Let's just clarify them all. With strength, I'm getting the Page of Pentacles reversed. Seven of Swords, excuse me. Three of Pentacles reversed. Six of Wands, we're getting the Page of Cups. Okay. Pulling one more in the middle. Nine of Wands reversed. Under the deck is the World. So, good. Ooh, look at that. The World and the Fool, baby. End of one cycle, beginning of a completely new life cycle. This is really interesting because I'm having this, like, I have to move. And this is the fourth time in a year, a little over a year, that I've moved. Because when I moved into my unit, they had a big issue in the building. They had to move me out for a few months. It was right next door, so it worked out. It was still inconvenient, but it was okay. And then right when I moved back in, I got all comfortable. I have a leak. And it's been more than once that it's happened, so I gotta go. That's impending. Still need to talk to them on Monday. It's like when you start to call in a higher timeline, trust and believe that the shit's gonna start to go, the chess pieces begin to move. This happened to me 2 years ago, this exact thing, where it was like the end of, and I know this is a love reading, but we have to remember that like every factor in your life is playing a role also in your love life. And sometimes the pieces need to move because you never know. What if you need to be in a different location for it to happen? What if you need to be XYZ? You know what I mean? Like unexpected changes happen a lot and we don't understand why until later. We look back and think, holy shit, if I hadn't moved across the country, I wouldn't have ran into that person at the coffee store. What? I don't know. I'm just making that up. But do you know what I mean? You never know. For me, I'm not moving far. Just hopefully next door. But let's see what happens. But it'll be a nicer apartment if that's the case at the same price point. So it should be a win-win, but let's see how it unfolds. Either way, 2 years ago, I did this in a meditation and I was like, I felt like I regressed and I was in an apartment I wasn't very happy in. And I just woke up and I was like, this ain't it. This isn't it. And I said in my meditation, spirit, you know, whatever, angels, my higher self, my ascended masters, and whoever's listening, my highest guidance team, I am calling in a higher timeline. I am ready for an upgrade. I am ready for something better. I am ready for what I truly deserve and what I want to embody, which is more prosperity. And that apartment was like kind of a downgrade for me. So I felt like this is not it. And I shit you not, it wasn't even 1 week later, I started to have pest trouble. And I hadn't had anything for months. And then the landlord needed to cut my lease short. And I had to move. And I moved somewhere better. And then I moved here. And I was like, it just keeps getting better and better. But it looked like an inconvenience in the moment. So trust that what's going on right now, I'm seeing the Seven of Swords. There needs to be a new strategy or something's going on here that, like, let's continue, but I just feel like this is important. What looks right now like an inconvenience, like a breakdown, like a destruction, like whatever, just trust and believe, excuse me, that these things happen for a reason. So let's get some clarifiers here. On strength and Page of Pentacles reversed. 3 sips of coffee, I already feel better. I was like slurring my words before. I'm like, am I okay? I think it's this impending move again when I needed to get settled and start working that I'm like, okay. We're getting nature on the first one here. Okay. In the second row, we're getting the Pillar. I don't even know what that means because I thought this was the real deck. It was a knockoff. It's definitely made in China and it came with the fucking tiniest print in my entire, like I can't barely see these without my glasses and I'm supposed to read this. So I haven't read it. so I have no idea what these cards mean. And then we got, what the fuck does this share? I thought it said shade. It says share wisdom. I'm just going to keep the glasses on because at this point, like I said before, I'm resisting it. I don't need them for distance. I need them up close. We're getting the wildling underneath the deck, which has shown up in every time I've tried to pull these cards today. So this definitely wants to be seen. And the wildling is about a return to your primal nature. This is like finding your power deep, 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 like that primordial power. Not from your head, but like more of an embodied power. More raw than that. And interesting that nature comes up on strength. I feel like this is a call to get out of your head and into your body, but let's pull one more. Destruction. I knew this shit was going to come up. That's why I told that story in the beginning. I knew it. I was like, this energy is present right now for a lot of people. It was the last thing I posted on Instagram. I'm like, my whole life is starting to kind of fall apart, and I'm just trusting it because it really does look like, not awful. I've been in worse situations, but a lot of like all of a sudden, this wasn't, the moving part wasn't even there yet. When I posted that, whenever that was, a week ago. This shit's unfolding quickly. Nature with destruction and strength with Page of Pentacles reversed in terms of love feels very much like something needs to come undone. And I feel that nature is also giving me the, like what I'm hearing are natural cycles. Like the death and rebirth cycle are part of nature. Trust when things need to die. Something needs to die. This came through in all my readings this week. So it's very much collectively in my orbit. So therefore, those of you that are falling upon this and watching this, you need to hear it as well. Destruction is okay. Let's stop resisting it. Let's stop making it a bad thing and start understanding that it's actually very, very, very essential. Nothing new. Look, the sun is literally starting to come out as I'm saying this. Totally. It was raining all day. You've got to find the strength to trust, to actually surrender to this, because this is major. That's why I'm not even fighting this. I'm like, all right, there's literally paper towels shoved into next to the unit, water on the floor, whatever. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, you know? I'll get a new apartment. And if that one leaks, I'll move again. Whatever. You've got to learn to start to move like water, because what happens when you start to trust in these cycles is that it makes it easier. It starts to unfold even better in your favor with more ease and grace. Challenges are going to come no matter how evolved you are. Like, we don't grow in our comfort zone. We actually grow through challenge, and our soul is not here to just like lay on the hammock for the rest of your life, or you wouldn't have bothered to come to Earth School. You're here because we're here to evolve, and this is how we evolve, through these little things. This for me is very first world problems. You know what I'm saying? This is like my physical comfort. It's not the end of the world. There's a lot worse things going on, so I can handle that. You know what I mean? It's inconvenient, but it's okay. You just have to take a deep breath and be like, instead of resisting this, go with it and watch it turn out even better than you could have imagined. So apply this to your love life. I'm just going to pull one on the pillar. Oh my God, we're getting fate. Fate. Like, this is part of your destiny. And it's interesting because it's coming with the Seven of Swords. Now, I know that like every tarot reader under the sun now reads this as somebody's like cheating on you. Okay, without just being so general and stuck on that point, this is also a card about strategizing. This is also a card about needing to perhaps implement a new strategy so that you don't feel mentally stuck. Because the card right after this, we always have to remember in tarot, the way that I read it, is to remember the card before and after. What's it moving towards? So the next card would be the Eight of Swords, where the person feels mentally trapped. They're not actually stuck. And that came out in one of my readings this week already. I don't remember which one, but it was there. And so the Seven of Swords is very much about like, okay, the strategy is, and this came up in another reading too, Three of Pentacles reversed. Part of your love life, like part of your lesson, is to not deceive yourself or deny yourself that you need support. And this is not the powerless support of being enabled by people so that you can feel helpless and powerless. The lesson here, we're getting pillar and fate. There are two pillars here standing strong. And this very much is giving me the vibe of interdependence. So the difference between codependency, for example, if we're going to use it in terms of being supported. Codependency is, and this comes from alcoholics, or drug addicts who had a person who was caretaking the addict without the addict actually healing. And so therefore the codependent's whole life revolves around the addict. And typically in those situations, you've either got two addicts, so they're two addicts together being addicted to something, or you've got an addict and the codependent who's caretaking the addict. But the addict isn't getting better, but the codependent's whole life revolves around taking care of this addiction, whilst the person suffers in their addiction without actually necessarily getting help at all or healing. And so it's like this enabling that happens between the two. So that doesn't mean it has to be a chemical addiction. This could be like financial codependence, emotional codependency. Like there's so many ways that we can think that we're supporting another person, but we're actually enabling them to be powerless and to not take responsibility and to not rise to the occasion of like what it is that they're meant to grow into and evolve into in this lifetime. And you may be doing it as a way, or have done it in the past as a way to feel loved. A lot of people mistake being needed for being loved, and there's nothing wrong with being needed. Like part of human connect. You guys, we have to learn how to find a happier medium amongst all these things because it's been very radicalized on the internet. And I've been on the internet doing readings for a long time. So I was here before a lot of people doing relationship stuff when it comes to this theme, right? And what I can tell you is that there are a lot of paradoxes in life and in the spiritual path. And we've also kind of demonized need and support. It's like, oh, if I need anything, then I'm codependent. That's bullshit. No, that's not true, you guys. Not to me. I don't believe that at all. I feel like being needed is part of human nature, but it's when you feel powerless, when you're not in your power, when you're not feeling sovereign, when you're not making your decisions that are in favor of the highest good for you and everyone involved. That's a totally different vibration than of two people being like pillars next to one another, supporting each other in a way that feels really healthy, and it feels like you're evolving together and you're growing together. This is part of your destiny. Fate. If you're listening to this, it's because this is what you're meant to experience. But you have to create this. It doesn't just fall in your lap. What you're creating in your life and the patterns are up to you to shift and change. So if a pattern in the past has been that the only way that you've received support is in a way where people feel disempowered and helpless, you're meant to create something different. It gets to be better than that. And it gets to be healthier and it gets to be reciprocated. And you don't have to be the only one giving, but you have to make space for that. You have to make these internal shifts so that you start to call in people who want to support you, but not in a way where you feel powerless, and vice versa, where you can support another without them feeling like you're their savior. You're not here to save anybody. You save yourself, period. But it is beautiful when you start to do that, how people will start to show up differently for you. I have never received so much support in my life than I have over the last year to two. And I don't feel powerless. In fact, I'm very proactive, and every day I'm doing things to improve my life and to make changes and to grow. But in turn, I feel incredibly supported lately. And I'm talking like miraculous stuff sometimes. I'm like, how the fuck did that work out? Because you're meant to be supported. And part of your love life is this. But there is some old shit, some old wounding, some fears. A lot of things have happened. I mean, he's standing here on his last leg with, the bandage on his head, like, who's going to hurt me next? We've got to let that go. Because this is exactly, this attitude, this prejudgment of people is what is probably repelling the people that you deeply desire in your life, who will be there for you without fucking enabling you, or vice versa. For people to not enable me, as the person I'm saying this, like I fully understand that it can be easier in some ways to be in these enabling relationships, but it ends up being crippling. It ends up being, it's like a relationship addiction. It's not healthy. People don't grow there. You get stagnant because there's only so far you can go when you feel powerless. And a lot of people are just super addicted to the status quo. They don't want to get uncomfortable. They don't want to experience the change. They want what's on the other side of the change without going through the fire. You got to be willing to go through the fire. It's worth it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've never made a change like this, a really uncomfortable one, and looked back and been like, man, I really miss my really fucked up, dysfunctional, dramatic life. I don't. Not one mother effing second do I miss the drama. Nope. And it was really hard sometimes to break these patterns, and it was 100 million thousand times, whatever, a billion times worth it. Worth it. Because when you start to see your relationships go from this messiness and this stickiness of like, you equate being supported with being hurt somehow. And you guys, I promise you, it does not have to be this way. It does not. I am here to support you. I have literally created program upon program for you guys for this. Go look in my store. Buy anything. It'll help you. Start with the $22 bundle, Love and Money. Start there. Like, start anywhere. Just keep going. Start with the free class. Start with Opening to Intimacy. Start with Bliss. Those are free. 60-minute classes, all for you. Packed. Lots of value in there. So just start. Start somewhere. Part of your fate is to experience a beautiful, strong, interdependent, and some people are even going beyond the interdependence. They are so in their sovereign embodiment that they're able to be in a relationship where you actually start to dissolve the boundaries again. And we're moving towards oneness. But that's a much more elevated, more mature, more conscious way of relating, and most people are not there yet because they haven't worked through the basics and the foundational stuff and their childhood stuff and their familial patterns, you know, their family patterning and things like that. You got to move through that shit first, and you can't fake it and you can't rush it. But if you follow any of like the polarity teachings, I'm not hardcore about that, but there, one of the teachers, David Daida, I follow a teacher who learned with him. And she, you know, they talk about the stages of relating, like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And stage 1 is very transactional, very like tit for tat almost, because you're still very much like in this old wounding and in the separation consciousness. And then the second stage of relating is like basically this interdependence, like I take care of my needs, you take care of your needs, and we're able to be with one another without so much reactivity and unconscious childhood stuff getting in the way. Once you've moved through that stuff, and it's not linear, but I'm just saying there are definitely like pretty distinct phases here, you can move into this even more evolved stage of relating where you don't need all these boundaries anymore. The boundaries kind of organically express or organically dissolve when need be, and you're moving into a higher state of consciousness together, a state of oneness. This is union, true unity consciousness. But I could think off my top of my head 3 people that I know of maybe that are moving into that phase, or 4 that I know on social media that I don't, some of them I know pretty well, but I know the majority of people are not in that phase, and it's fine. Be wherever you are. I'm just saying it is possible. And so part of your destiny, if you've been following me for all these years, conscious relationship is your path. So just know that like your responsibility lies in making sure that you are doing these things for yourself, and that you're moving into a state of feeling not just powerful, but 100% ownership for your shit. 100% ownership for what you're creating, for your patterns, for what's going on in your world. You've got to be like, I'm taking full ownership of this. Till then, we're playing the victim. And in victimhood, you will stay stuck. That's like a loop. And that's one of the most important choices that you can make when it comes to improving your relationships, is no longer playing the blame game. It is total ownership. Doesn't mean that shit doesn't happen sometimes, and it doesn't mean that people don't do bad things or hurtful things, but it means you take full ownership of your part of it. And that is a way more evolved way of relating, but when you're ready for that, your relationships are going to dramatically improve. So for those of you that really truly crave more conscious relating, like I said, watch my classes, keep going, and just know that you can't be the victim anymore. You can't blame other people for anything. That's a radical way of being in relationship, but believe me, it's so worth it. So lastly, we're getting the 6 of Wands, the Page of Cups, and share wisdom. I just want to, let me just check the time. Okay, I've got about 10 more minutes. Let's see. Let's get one more Oracle card here. Yeah, this reading feels clear, and the other ones were not, so I guess that's why I had to re-record it a few times. I needed my coffee. Solves everything. Share wisdom. We're also getting the Observer. I'm going to get one more, actually. Self-love. Okay, bam, bam. There we go. I knew it. That was very much a theme. And then under the deck with the World and then the Fool, end of a cycle, start of another one, we're getting Speak Truth. It's a big part of this, you guys. Here's the deal. I mean, Six of Wands is about how you're usually being perceived, or how you want to be perceived to the public, to the world. He's kind of, doing a victory lap here. And the Page of Cups is this kind of, more immature or not as developed emotional opening. It could be an offer. It could be just your emotional maturity coming in here. Let's just clarify with with what? With a tarot card, the Page of Cups. Court cards, I almost always clarify them because they can mean so many different things, but sorry. Page of Cups, what do we need to know on Page of Cups here? The Queen of, another court card, Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like you're a justice. To bring balance here, like, you're probably a little more developed in the material world than you are in the emotional world. And there's probably some deep intimacy lessons here that need to happen emotionally. That's what I'm feeling here. And sharing wisdom coming with the observer and self-love. From what I'm getting from this share wisdom, it feels like a need to listen. To listen. Hold on. I'm getting a few messages on this. Let me clarify. Share wisdom. I'm getting ascension. Wow. I feel like sharing wisdom has to do with deep listening here. For some reason, I'm hearing that again and again lately. And I think it's because we do tend to be more just instinctively like reactive towards things instead of actually listening. But part of sharing wisdom is to be able to listen. Oh, and what I'm hearing is to see another person's vulnerability. Page of Cups is very vulnerable. It's like a childlike energy. It's like you're not feeling very, very confident yet. And it's interesting that it comes next to the Queen of Pentacles, which could also be about how worthy you feel. But it can also be that maybe you've developed more in that realm, was what I initially felt, than in the emotional realm. And so part of sharing wisdom is to be able to honor your vulnerability and someone else's, where they might feel really scared and weak. And it's okay, because that can be so intimidating. That's what I feel is going to bring balance to this situation. And observing is here. That's why I'm saying deep listening with self-love, because notice that how you treat other people, and it may be how you judge other people, because maybe you treat people in a kind way, and maybe you're highly critical of other things in your mind. You may not even say it out loud. Maybe you're embarrassed to say it. But like, notice where you're critical of others, because I know that the places where I judge other people the most are the places where I judge myself the most. And part of this observation, I feel, and the ability to share wisdom is to listen and to actually see ourselves in the other person. Because she's almost like, she's like holding up this pentacle, but it almost makes me think of like a mirror. And so that's just what I'm intuitively feeling here. Ascension is literally raising your consciousness. Raising your consciousness is what ascending is all about. And that's what I was talking about with this middle row of like, unity consciousness is part of our ascension process, because so long as we see ourselves as separate from others, we're stuck. Because that's an illusion. Because I believe truly, like, we're all connected. But that sounds good on paper, but to practice it means that you have to be able to witness others in their humanity and be able to embrace that, because that's embracing your wholeness. And the moment that you're judging another person and being critical of them, you're trying to cut off these parts of yourself. It's impossible. It all exists. It's all here as one. So that's how you raise your consciousness. Truly honoring another person's vulnerability, honoring your own, and being willing to listen deeply enough to know that, again, how you treat yourself dictates like how others are going to treat you. And on the flip side, being able to deeply listen to others is a true act of love. It's really major, because most people are not listening, you guys. They don't necessarily mean any harm, but they're not listening. Speaking truth coming underneath the deck feels very clear, like the way to truly start the new cycle is to speak up. It could be asking for what you need. It could be advocating, like I said in another reading, for yourself. Let's just get one more before I run out of time. On Speak Your Truth, we're also getting love. Literally love, just love here. And it's two hands opening and this heart. It's like this whole reading, that's the thing. Truly loving, to me, is to deeply listen and to embody love, which for me means to really truly be with all parts of ourselves and just learn to be with that without judging it, without collapsing, without, shutting ourselves off from the most beautiful thing of all, which is to love. But speak truth is there. So I do feel that a big part of this cycle is to finally take ownership of the things that you need to say that haven't been said yet. Take ownership of the things that you need to maybe say to yourself. But most importantly, if there's a conversation that you have been avoiding that needs to be had, do not be so afraid. I know how scary it can feel to confront a situation, to bring justice to a situation that feels unfair, that feels like the odds are not in your favor, to make a huge choice that's going to destroy. We got destruction here. It might destroy your money situation for a while. It might destroy your stability. Trust, you guys, that when you are in integrity, it doesn't matter what the fuck you say. The universe is on your side. When you're truly in your heart and you are centered in that energy of love and you're coming from that place, I have never once regretted a decision that I made from that place. Ever. I'm always taken care of. And you can't predict how, and you don't have all the answers, and you're going to have to take a leap of faith. But not once have I truly fallen on my face, because I know that even if I'm temporarily falling, something's going to help me get back up, because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to move in the direction that love moves me, and to stay in integrity with love. That to stay in that kind of integrous place, like you will be supported, provided for, and things will swoop in the most wild fucking ways. You'll be like, I could have never predicted that was going to happen in your favor, because you chose truth. Because you chose what's in the highest good, not what's convenient, what's the fast fix, what's a quick fix, what's going to be a band-aid, what's going to help me avoid pain and discomfort. Fuck that. Walk through the fire and trust that if you're on this path and you watch my readings, that's because you're strong enough to hear these messages. You're ready. And I'm living it, so I can tell you guys straight up, I have not taken the easy road. I've taken the hard road. It has been beautiful in the most amazing ways that I never could have predicted. And had I taken the easy road, I'd be suffering a lot more right now, because when we take shortcuts, bitch, it gets served back to us tenfold. You will not avoid your lessons in this lifetime. If you need to learn something, best believe it will be served up to you on a platter. So best to not take a shortcut. Do the right thing, do the hard thing, because it will be worth it in the end. You'll be rewarded tenfold. Take one step, like they say, towards the gods. They take 100 steps towards you. Links below. If you want to book a reading, sorry, I'm having a sale. 60 or 90 minutes. $222 or $333. Links are below, along with all my other offerings and my freebies. So if you want a reading, book that shit. Love you guys.